Before this video starts, I'd just like to explain what the hell is going on at the beginning of the game. We're playing a Slayer game with my sister Bejewel. She just asked me, how do you do a ground pound? And she's like trying to figure it out. She just failed. It's like, okay, I'm saying, all right, you have to do a jump and then hold your melee button and then let go. And I demonstrated it, boom, and she got it, and then like, meanwhile, I'm getting killed. Pretty stupid way to start the video. Anyway, now we bring you back to your regularly scheduled program. Hi everybody, it's your old pal Yamjuice. I've got a gameplay commentary for you today, playing some Halo 5, but this is not about the gameplay. This commentary is going to be about one of my favorite podcasts, the Tiggered podcast. Tiggered started as the Lag Comp podcast, LCP. I started watching it when it was just Freedo, and then they added Eddie, and then they added Schwantz, and then they added Skagg, and I really loved that podcast. I watched it every single week, or actually I listened to it in my car, to be honest with you, on Stitcher. But I listened to the whole thing every week. I really enjoyed that gaming podcast. It was also about just other stuff. Then Keemstar decided he wanted to join in on the podcast. So they changed the name to Tiggered, the Tiggered podcast. All right, so this commentary is about being true to yourself, or more to the point, it's about betraying yourself. So everybody knows Keemstar. If you don't know Keemstar, then you kind of have been living under a rock. You probably are less likely to know who Skagg is, or Freedo, or any of those other guys. But the fact is that a long-time participant on the LagComp podcast is this really young, precocious commentator. His name is Sneako. Now, Sneako he started coming as a guest on the podcast when he was like 14. Maybe 15, I don't know, but he's still a really, really young guy, and he's a smart dude, and he makes these snappy commentaries, kind of copying the style of Eddie the Chump a little bit, and of course he admits it. And obviously there's a great amount of affection between Freedo and Sneako and Eddie, and even the Schwantz. They liked him. They had him back on the show multiple times. He was a friend of the show, and obviously just a friend to those guys. I guess they saw him as their protege. Anyway, somehow or another, Keemstar has some drama alert thing. That's how everybody knows drama. Keemstar is from Drama Alert, and he has some job that he wants to put out there. So he wants somebody to read a narration. And sort of half-jokingly, Sneako said that he would do it. All right, so Keemstar said that he would let him do it. He tried, and I will admit, he did not do a good job. The narration just wasn't really that great. I don't think that means that Sneako is a loser or anything, but it wasn't that great. Now, here's the thing. He was told that they weren't going to use the narration. So Sneako came back and did a commentary saying that he made a mistake even trying to get exposure being on the show, because Drama Alert has a big following. A lot of people watch the videos, and Sneako, I guess the greed of getting exposure kind of blinded him to the fact that Keemstar actually is an asshole, and everybody knows that Keem is an asshole. He can be entertaining for sure. I subscribe to Drama Alert just because sometimes you just need to know what's going on. Anyway, can you actually say that's any kind of significant news or it's important or anything? I'd say no. It's like the National Enquirer of the gaming YouTube scene. It's just like a tabloid type of thing, and really Keemstar is like sort of a Bill O'Reilly kind of a character. Sneako was actually glad, according to his video, that he wasn't going to be appearing on the Drama Alert show, because he actually doesn't have respect for Drama Alert. Like, you know, nobody, I think, has much respect for it. It's just this rag of a channel. It's like it's a guilty pleasure. Anyway, Keemstar wanted to have it out with Sneako on the Tiggered podcast, and when that occurred, it was kind of shocking to me. Okay, so they were arguing whether or not, you know, Sneako did a good job or whether he was set up to fail. But the fact is, everybody kind of agreed that he didn't do a good job. But in the meantime, I was sort of surprised, more than sort of surprised, because the person who was taking up for Sneako was Skagg, who really doesn't even know him. But he is trying to take into consideration the fact is that Keem admitted that he was setting him up to fail, and also Sneako is a kid. He's a teenager. Anyhow, the fact is, Keemstar abused Skagg on the show, I would say, and it was a train wreck. It really was. I listened to the he called him retarded. He was saying, are you sucking Sneako's cock? Stuff like that. Okay, Skagg is too intelligent and has too much self-respect to put up with shit like that. So I was not at all surprised when he announced that he was leaving the Tiggered podcast. They had a show. I listened to the show, and what I think is that, like he said, when Keem was proposed to come on the show, he was kicking himself because he had objections that he didn't really voice. I can understand, like, having Keem on the show would mean instant increase in the exposure of the podcast. It would be a much bigger deal, much quicker. But the fact is, it would be making a deal with the devil. If Keem came on, he would take over the show. It would change the show. You've got this Bill O'Reilly kind of character that's just a blowhard, that's talking over people, that's belittling people. He's bragging about how many followers he has, how big his fame is. And I think also Freedo, the creator of the LagComp podcast, was also, he had stars in his eyes, thinking, we let Keemstar on and we're going to grow and it's going to be a big deal. Freedo has pretty much abandoned his own personal channel and making videos. All he does is the podcast. So here he is. He's kind of selling out. It's true. He's selling out to have Keemstar on the show. And then when Keemstar is viciously attacking this teenager just because he did a bad job of reading, this narration, and then he made a video about it, he's attacking him vitriolically, and Freedo, sorry, that was my phone, and Freedo is totally slagging on Sneako too. Sneako is Freedo's friend. He's turning his back on Sneako. He's throwing Sneako under the bus. And everybody just allowed that to happen. The only one who was speaking up was Skagg. Eddie the Chump, you should be glad that you weren't there. Anyhow, so what did we learn from all this? We learned that you should not betray yourself. Sneako betrayed himself by agreeing to try to be on the show, which he later regretted and realized that was a bad idea. He was like not being true to himself because he didn't have any respect for Keemstar or the show. He was just temporarily blinded by the potential of some fame. Freedo also, he was very, very defensive on the Tiggered podcast where Skagg was announcing that he was leaving. And he looked like he's turned his back on not only Sneako, but his friend Skagg in favor of Keemstar. Now, Keemstar he's just a blowhard. He's not going to stick with that show for that long. He'll be leaving himself when he gets bored with it. And Freedo will have to wonder, where his loyalties lie. Skagg, you did the right thing. You realized that you had betrayed yourself by not speaking up, but you did something to correct it. So what have we learned? Don't betray yourself. And if you do betray yourself, at least go to some links to correct it. So that's all for this video. This has been Yamjuice. Thanks for watching.
Game over. Victory.